All right. That stuff always gets me hyped.
Yeah, it's
Alex, you there? Looks like your camera's not up yet, Alex.
Yeah, I'm here.
I can't see you. Can you bring your camera up?
Yeah, I'm trying to bring my camera up, but
No problem. It's the Labor Day hangover. All right. Well, as Alex figures it out, guys, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our National Leaders Call.
oh, it's Elise who stopped it. So it's Elise. So it says you cannot get the camera because your host stopped it.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
I didn't. We'll let Elise figure it
Now
out.
here we are.
All right. Good morning, Alex. How we doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Well, guys, thanks for hopping on. Again, this is my favorite call. We do this every 2 weeks now, or every other week, which has been a fantastic adjustment for us. This is our National Leaders Call. So every other week, you guys are going to get a chance to hear from owners all across the business, from all other programs, not just specifically your own. And they're going to cover a topic that pertains to leadership development. And first of all, I want to wish everybody happy Labor Day. Hi, Maddie. Hopefully everybody was safe and had a good time. We're coming into September and we're coming into October. You guys have probably seen the news out there. The unemployment is going away from the COVID relief, which means that recruiting and team building and growth should be, at an all-time high coming up. And we put these calls together a long time ago because we wanted to give you guys resources to learn from people outside of your offices. And Zoom has completely changed our business and given us the chance to run what we would most likely be doing in Dallas, which we haven't been able to do for a couple of years. So we're crossing our fingers we can get back to that next year. But in some ways, this has really been even better because you guys are hearing from top owners, top managers all across our business, and they're basically giving you guys insight on what makes them drive their business, what helps them drive their people, and help build their organization. And today, we have a very special guest and a speaker, Alex Touati. Alex, I've known you for a long time. In fact, I met you when you were a leader on Larry's at Larry's Beach House. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I remember that. And you just opened up your office in San Diego and you just moved from Sacramento. So yeah, I remember that really well.
And your story, and today you're going to talk about leadership and leading by example, but many people don't. I know your story, but many people don't know your story. And I want to go over it a little bit because, we've interviewed a lot of people and we've had a lot of speakers, and you'll hear a lot of people that come from college or this is their first time doing anything in entrepreneurship, first time, working this hard. You're a different story. You came into our business, not entry level, not first job. You have a bachelor's, you have a master's. You were very successful in tennis. You also worked in entrepreneurship with your family. So we'll get into that in a minute, but your background is different. So for some people that come in, sometimes they might think, hey, I'm not like some of the other entry-level people, but you were a guy that looked at the opportunity right away. So we'll get into it. You're not from the United States. You're from Tunisia.
Yeah, I'm from Tunisia, North Africa. Yes.
Yeah, and you moved here in 2014. So first of all, what brought you from Tunisia to the United States?
So when I graduated from my master's degree, I got my first job in financial banking. So after 2 years, working at that place, I got really bored. I was doing the same tasks, the same routines, and there is no way I asked for promotion and something different because I got bored, and then it wasn't available. So my uncle, who's been living here for 25 years now, came to visit, and we talked a lot. And he said, "You look like you're not happy with what you're doing. You're not." I started complaining to him a little bit, because I want it more. I want to grow fast, but corporate doesn't work that way, right? So he said, "Why don't you come and help me? I need the right hand to run my business. I will teach you the basics and stuff, and come to America." So at the beginning, I was like, "What? Come to America? Like I'm gonna leave my culture, my friend, my family, to come? And how am I gonna?" He said, "I'll help you. I'll sponsor you and stuff like that." And he knew my work ethic, obviously, because I'm a sports guy and stuff.
Yep.
And I said, "You know what? What I have to lose? Nothing, right?" So I came in, and I started working with him. Smart guy. He put me. I thought I was going to be the assistant manager, then the manager, and then I'm going to be running the place. But he's in the food industry, so he put me at a minimum wage. I have to be at 5:30 in the morning in a cold room, like -30, putting salads and stuff in the cold. I'm like, what the hell is this? Is that where I came from? So he tested me, right? He told me, you have to, before start helping me running the company, you have to go through everything from the bottom, right? And I think when I looked at this business, it made sense because my uncle, who's very successful, put me through the same thing. right?
Yeah.
When I looked at, okay, you have to start somewhere to get there. You have to start in the field, build a team and stuff. It made sense to me. I could relate to what my uncle did. So I'm like, okay, this is how things works here. Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So
And you have a story that Larry's told before, but I won't use the language Larry has used that you've told him. But basically, you and your uncle had a little bit of a fight about your growth and you not having the ability to move up, and he was sort of taking advantage of the fact that you had all this work ethic, but he didn't have the opportunity for you to grow. So what happened when you hit that stymie?
I think I asked for certain things. I mean, obviously the company was doing more sales and we got into a lot of retails, and I was really hustling, I was really working, putting, sweat and tears with him. And he promised me a percentage of the sales that we're going to do in those retail stores. And I kept asking and asking, and we were booming, we were growing like crazy. And I kept asking, he said, yeah, you'll get it. But then I'm like, okay, I've been asking for 6 months now. There's nothing. We already got paid from these retailers, but I didn't get anything. So I really had a serious conversation with him. Then I find out that it's never going to happen because it's family, and I'm like, this is business. What it has to do with family? So we just got in an argument, and I left. And he couldn't believe it. He called my dad back home, and he was telling him, no, I know he will come back. He thought that I'm just going to go back home or I'd be lost here. But I went to figure out myself. I rented a room for $350 with 5 other people. I was riding a bicycle, taking a bus. I didn't have the car. I didn't have obviously savings and money because I was tight, and I started applying. And it's funny is, people laugh at me right now, but and at that time I applied through Craigslist. I mean, who applies through Craigslist right now, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, you're too foreigner that you apply through Craigslist. So,
Yeah.
and then I found the business, and I had so many. I mean, I had 7 other interviews. 3 of them offered me the position, kind of the same thing. But some of them were base pay and stuff. But I decided to choose, the business. I think, I trusted my promoting owner, and I trusted the system. It was
Yeah.
great. I mean,
Before you started doing the business, did you consider going back to Tunisia?
before starting no way, no, because if I go back, then if I'm telling my family I'm gonna make you guys proud, and they're my step 7, and I'm gonna go to the land of opportunity and make it happen, then I'm gonna be like my dad and mom. My dad left when he was 18. My mom left when she was 17. So my mom's dad, granddad, got in a bankruptcy. So my mom had to take care of him, and 6 other kids. And they both went. So my mom went to France, dad went to Belgium. They both made it there. So I wanted to follow my parents' example. If I'm going back, go consider coming back, then I'm a loser. I'm gonna look like a complete loser because my dad was okay for me to go, but my mom really did not want me to go. She wanted me there because moms, they want the kids close to them and stuff. But
Yeah.
I want to go for it. Plus, I saw my uncle's success, and I'm like, wow. When he came to visit us, and he comes once a year, right? Summertime. I thought he was running a normal company and stuff. I didn't know that he was that big. He hid that really well. So he was really, really like successful, very successful. So
Many people, when they first look at our business, especially the door-to-door part of it, they say, not for me, because they'd rather get a job that more suits what they studied for their degree, or they don't want to go backwards and do something. Maybe if they could find something better, even if it's a little bit more pay or it's a little bit better status of a job. When you looked at the entry-level job, you have a master's degree, you already were involved in a guy that ran a business. What the hell made you say, I want to do this? I want to go in the field? Because I think some people prejudge and they would never recruit a guy like you. They would think a guy like you would never do this. So leaders all the time, they get intimidated when they sit down with people that have maybe a little bit more education and more experience. And even owners, we've had issues where owners don't even sit down with guys like you for prelims. But you came in, you looked at our business, and you said, why not? So what made you look at the business and see past the entry level?
I think, after that experience, I studied so hard for my master's. So I did a thesis for 3 months. So I remember not going back home. I was in the UK to do my thesis, not going back home to study. I'm like, wow, I sacrificed an entire summer, to get my master. And I studied, so hard for it. So my next job is going to be amazing, and I'm going to move up and stuff. So when I got to the bank and the financial banking, and I was moving really, really fast the first 6 months, they gave me an extra task of somebody that was there for 7 years already, right? Then when I got stuck, I'm like, oh my God, this is how corporate is. Is this really what it is? That's why I studied for? Screw this. So I already started having the idea of creating my own thing. Obviously, back home in Tunisia, we didn't have a lot of opportunity to do that. So I always wanted to be like to start something, on my own. I don't know where the entrepreneurial came from sports, from my dad, but I think for sure having worked so hard for a master's, then got stuck in the same position at a financial bank, who I thought there's going to be a lot of growth and opportunity and stuff. I think that really, really pushed me. So when I think big picture was explained to me really well at the beginning. My promoting owner was very transparent with me, and obviously, the opportunity and the number speaks for itself. So I looked at the field and all that stuff. It's temporary.
Yep.
I look at it, work ethic and attitude, fine. This is what we need to do to get there. I did not look at it, this is what I need to do every single day for the rest of my life. So I need to make, ends meet or make a living off of it. I thought this is just temporary. It's like moving sport from amateur to semi-pro. If you're very motivated and driven, amateur is going to be only temporary, right?
Absolutely.
And a lot of people stay as an amateur because they don't have ambition, they don't have a vision, right? But the ones that really want to be successful, they will move up, they will sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, I've had front row seats to see what you've accomplished over the last 7 years, and it's been really fun to watch and to see how much you've grown. And guys, just so you guys know, Alex is a regional consultant. He's now got 14 owners that he oversees. A lot of them are doing, I think most of them are doing Frontier. He's got a couple guys in Assurance Wireless, which is ran by T-Mobile. Frontier, cross-selling with AT&T. He helps run the Frontier campaign. Alex is putting himself in an amazing position, something his uncle could have never offered him. And we're very lucky to have him. So Alex, today you're talking about leadership and leading by example. And I know you're not a big tech computer slideshow guy, so I know you're gonna rip through these. So guys, if you're on the call, Alex is going to cover 8 topics today, 8 specific subjects about leadership and leading by example. So if there's any subjects you guys have questions about, please put it in the chat. And then me and him are going to do some back and forth about each one. So Alex.
So we're going to talk about being a leader of people. The first thing that obviously we're going to talk about is, am I, as a leader, am I ready for responsibility? That's the number one thing, right? Because it is a responsibility to lead others, to lead men and women. It's a huge responsibility, whether in our business or not in our business. So first of all, I see a lot of people when they get promoted in our business and get to a leadership position, some of them are really scared of responsibility because it is a responsibility. Now you have people to teach. Now you have people to train. Now you have people to take care of. It's not about you anymore. It's about others, right? And then with that comes obviously setting the right example. You cannot call yourself a leader of people unless, you set the right example. And, I talk about this in our office a lot. When I say setting the right example, it's just not only in terms of performance, it's more than that. It's in terms of first in, timing, obviously punctuality, last out, right? Your car ride, the way car ride look like, your conversations with your people. What kind of conversation are you having? Are you having future talk about your growth, about where you're going to open up a market, about what the next step you're taking with the team? Are you just talking about what did you do on Sunday and, the football game that you watch and you hanging out with your friends and stuff? These are very, very important topic. And I think the person that took me out, to the field the first time, when we had an hour lunch, I think that's what also played a part of it of retaining me. The conversation that he was having with me, he was like, and I know the guy, but he was like, I'm at 3 leaders. I need 2 more to get promoted. I'm going to open up my office in LA and this. And I'm like, wow. And then it was my first interview. It was the first time, like in the field. And I was really impressed. I'm like, wow, these guys are goal oriented. These guys are moving up. This company is great. And I think if he was talking to me about, hey, what a great game, what soccer game Arsenal won or whatever football game, and I think I'll be like kind of like, okay, this is chill. This is like any other job, And I think a lot of leaders are not paying attention to that. What kind of conversations, our office, we talk about door presence a lot. You as a leader, how you carry yourself in the field with customers, and obviously, applying the systems and have a proper teaching and training for the guys. I think it's really important. But that is the first thing. Are you the right example in the office? Do people look at you as example? Because that's what makes a difference between somebody who has a lot of people on his team and somebody who doesn't. Chances are a leader who has a lot of people and it's growing and stuff, people are look at him as an example. And the person is not growing in an office is definitely people are not looking at him as an example. I mean, we could talk about a lot of things. I mean, image, it's very important as well. You know, we interview people every single day. What's your image in the office? You know, what is your image outside of the office? How you carry yourself in PM? You know, so timing, punctuality, all that stuff. I think in order for people to follow others, they have to be on point. And the second point is, and I was taught this in the very early in the business. You know, I remember Matt Kelly, you know, I remember Ken, all these guys always talk about it is, would you follow you? You know, would you follow you? So, and I was asking myself, you know, when I was in the field all the time, would me follow me? Right. And I was like, wow, my production yesterday wasn't good the day before, neither. I don't think me would follow me. I'm not being a good example. I gotta do better. You know, I gotta improve. You know, I gotta network more so I can be more effective. You know, on what I do. The next point is doing the small things right. You know, uh, and I talked about this. You know, from your timing, from running a good car ride, networking, conversations. Are you doing the small things right so you can put the odds in your favor so you can win? You know, are you doing that kind of stuff? And sometimes we ignore certain things that really makes a difference in our business because we are a recruiting business, we are people following people business. And sometimes something really small, a wrong conversation, a car that's not really clean, like I coach my guys all the time on car rides because they're important. They're taking interviews for the first time in the field. That small details. One of our guys last week took a guy on an interview and then took him in the field and his car was on E, and I'm like, wow. I mean, those small things make huge difference in our business. I mean, I don't know about you, Van, but when I started and I went to the interview and I got offered the position, like everybody else, I was a little bit skeptical, but my first week I was observing like crazy. And I was observing the leader that took me, the other leaders in the office that were running the, campaigns and all this stuff. And then I was watching mostly the owner, right? And I think during that week, if I saw something that's a little sketchy or not, luckily we had great office, clean office. Most of the guys were professional, the environment was great. And I think if, me being by myself here, not having that family support and stuff, so I kind of found a family. But I think if I saw something that, this doesn't make sense of what they're preaching, I think I probably wouldn't stay, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well, I can even say, I think the biggest thing that leaders first realize, I remember when I got into leadership, was that when you are new to somewhere, you show up, you don't necessarily think that everyone's watching you. You're kind of like a part of the crowd. When you become a leader, you become the star of the show, where your people, other people's people, they're looking at you, they're paying attention to you. And as an owner, because you've been one for a long time, that if you're not on your game and you let little things slip, people will notice them. Now they won't say anything, they'll just leave. And that's where, when you say the little things, it's kind of like the initial phases of dating. You know what I mean? Like you get into a relationship, you go on some dates, you got to be on your best behavior. You got to be your best self. And it doesn't mean you do it to be fake, but as a leader, you got to get used to doing all those little things right. And because the one thing you don't do could be the reason why that person doesn't take you serious. And you see it all the time. Owners, leaders, they just kind of like, they forget the small stuff. They leave a little bit a messy office. They say something unprofessional. They let people be unorganized, and it ends up trickling into guys like you, who just kind of look at the whole thing and say, "Hey, I'm already a little skeptical. Now I'm seeing the little things that are kind of off. Boom, I'm done." So I think it's a really good point you made.
Yeah, and one then you remind me, a story also. So we had this leader who just got promoted, brand new leader in our office. We're all excited about. We start, obviously teaching him the interviews and all that stuff. I told him to take me on interview. I told him to take the assistant manager. So his interview process was great, right? So he started taking out interviews, and when we close, the person who say, "Hey, what do you think about this guy?" And they're great. And then the people who weren't starting, right? They're not starting. Just to talk about small things, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, this is crazy. Me and the assistant manager went nuts. Like, how come this guy's not starting anybody and everybody's starting? So I'm like, let's shadow him. So we shadow the interview. the interviews is the same as we interview, right? And then one time I told the assistant manager, I mean, I shadowed the interview the night before, go shadow him. Maybe you will notice things are different from me. So she went to shadow, and when they left the room, I went inside, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, what is this? Is what the hell is this smell? Is crazy. What is this? Right? So we brought certain, you know, some things like the good smell. And then again, the next day I walk in, it's the same thing. So long story short, end up his you know, his breath wasn't good. And that's why people were not sticking. And when I was with him, I did not notice because I was focusing on the interview and I was inside the office. But coming from the outside of the office, and once he fixed it, now the guy has 5 people on his team.
Ken always told me, he's like, Van, you never should go anywhere without a pack of gum.
Right. So the interviews were intoxicated pretty much. And it was like, people were like looking at a nice building, professional people like, screw this guy is, you know, and I feel bad for the guy, but I had to coach him on it. And now he's doing better. So when I say small things, right, that's when I say, yeah. Sure. So the next one is obviously keep shooting for your goals. You know, goals are very important. You know, you cannot lose track. You have to push yourself. You know, I tell my guys, you know, all the time, you know, you're not pushing yourself enough. You know, you have to push yourself more in order to get to the next level. Don't give up on yourself. Keep crushing. We know the field is hard. We know the business is hard, but you know, you have to keep your goal in mind. And now when you're a leader, it's not about only your goals, it's about your team goals also. Because if you're a leader just thinking about your personal goals, not including the team on your goals, then I think you're doing a big mistake. I think, you know, even your team goals comes before your goals. And I see so many leaders, especially brand new leaders, that start having people on their team. They still have that distributors mentality. When they're just thinking about their sales, they're thinking about, you know, them, and not thinking that much about that new guy that decided to, you know, to get offered position with us, went to so many interviews, but decided to go with us, decided to go door to door, commission only for an opportunity, you know, and the leader is just thinking about themselves, you know. And I think that's a big mistake that a lot of leaders do. So set the pace in the field, obviously, and teaching your guys how to set the pace in the field.
Now, is that number 5? Set the pace in the field?
Number 6.
Oh, number 6. Okay. What was number 5?
It's don't give up on your goals, you know.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool.
You see a lot of people giving up.
What do you think? And I want to hit on that real quick. What do you think it is? Because, you know, we talk about how becoming successful long-term is hard because it's easy in the beginning to be excited. And then once the excitement goes away, that's when you kind of get to see who's really committed to their goals. And the reason why there's opportunity in life is because most people give up on their goals. They give up. So what do you think the difference is between the people who stick with their goals and those who don't? Or because you've seen a lot of leaders that they just give up on their goals. They have them and then they kind of either they lose their focus, they get distracted, personal stuff comes up. But what do you think the main difference is between those two types of people?
I think 2 things. I think they want it more. And success is their priority. I think that's the main difference. They really want it more, and success is their priority. I think people that give up, they say they want to be successful, but they really don't want to be. They really don't want it as bad, you know. So what's easy for them to walk out because me and you, everybody who, you know, successful in management right now, we went through a lot, even in ownership. I mean, people think ownership is easy. You know, that's where the real game starts, right? Field, you know, all that stuff. I mean, you go through a lot, but we care about our future. We care about our success. That's why we didn't give up. And the other people just give up because they say they care, but they do they really want it? Do they really care about it? I think that's, and I think it has to be a priority. I mean, Larry talk about it all the time. You know, it has to be a priority for you. So.
Yeah. And it seems like when you're building a team as well, a part of building a team is you got to take a lot of interviews. You can't make someone, you know, motivated about their goals. You can't do the work for them. So you got to be the best example of someone who's shooting for their goals. You're going to attract those types of people, right? Leaders always think, I've got to turn this person to a super self-motivated, goal-driven person. You can't do it. All you can be is goal-oriented yourself, have big vision and work your butt off. And you're going to attract people like that. So I think it's good to know the difference, right? Because a lot of people start off excited, but the gap between the ones who achieve the things they want to achieve are they stick with it even when they're not excited. And that's the
Exactly.
hard part, right? That's the hard part.
And what's crazy is you cannot tell if they're excited or not. You know, they won't show it. Sorry. They won't show it. You know, you can't tell, you know, so they won't show it. The next one is never stop believing in yourself and your team. Self-belief is super important, you know. Believe in other people. I think a true leadership is someone who believes in others and see potentials in others. I think that's true leadership. So no matter what, always believe in your guys. And I hear Larry all the time say it: believe in your people, believe in your guys, no matter what they go through. Obviously the right one, but that's true leadership. And last but not least, follow through and come through for your people. You know, you have to come through for our people. Our job, like, is, you know, obviously now as owners, to come through for our guys is to get them out of the field and provide them with an opportunity. But my job was as a leader, you know, was to teach, train, develop people, mentor them, you know, to help me grow so I can help them grow, you know. And I think that's the, you cannot come half through for your people or halfway for your people. It's either all in or not, you know. And I see leaders doing that mistake. You know, they don't come, you know, they're like, hey, so I have dinner scheduled with my guys on Tuesday every night. So after PM, I'm gonna go for dinner. And then I see the leader, I'm like, it's Tuesday. You know, what, aren't you on dinner with your guys tonight? It's like, no, we postpone it. Some of the guys wanted to go. One guy didn't want to go, so I canceled it. I'm like, what? Like, you're not coming through for your people. Like, your people are waiting for you to go to dinner, and now last minute you're gonna change your mind. So that's called half leading. You know, you're not a full leader. You know, who cares if that person's gonna come or not? You said you're gonna do something, you do it. That's what leadership is. You know,
Yeah.
you got to come through for your people, come through for your guys.
I think your last 2 points of never stop believing in yourself and your team and then follow through, they kind of tie together. And I wanted to ask you because I think a big problem that people have is they have a bad experience with someone that they invested a lot of energy and time into. What is a bad experience? Well, the person doesn't work out, right? They leave the business. It's not for them. They can't stick with it. They can't stay self-motivated. And you have leaders that they put a lot into this person and that person doesn't work out, right? And then you have sort of the effects of that, where then now a person goes into the next relationship they have in the business where they're like, okay, I have this person on my team and they did all the little things right with the first person, but that person didn't work out. So now it's harder for that leader to think of doing all the little things right again, because they're like, well, why would I if this person's going to leave anyways? And so you kind of see this thing where people reel back and they stop doing the little things. They stop, believing in their guys, and they start to prejudge. And you kind of see it happen where they prejudge in the interview before they ever put them on their team because of other person they had. So what is your advice to leaders that go through the ups and downs of building a team where they have people that they thought were going to be their partners that leave? And then how do they get back on the horse and get back to work? Because that's, in my opinion, that was the hardest part for me, was getting my heart broken after I thought this person was my next business partner for life, and they decided to go a different direction.
And I think we face the same thing when we promote owner and we think they're going to be superstars and stuff, right? And then end up not working out, right? But in a leadership standpoint, I mean, don't take it personal, don't take it personal, and always ask yourself, what could I have done better?
Yeah.
I think not taking it personal is going to help you a lot, because it happened to me too. I will never forget my first Dallas, and I was so excited, and I went to network with you, and a day before I lost a leader. So I was at 3 leaders, I went down to 2. So I went to network with you and I was like, hey, Van, and stuff like that. And, I remember you wearing a yellow shirt, and it was very inspiring, and I was so excited. And I was talking to you, I would never forget the conversation. I was like, so how many people you have on your team now, Alex? And I said 5. How many leaders? I said 2. And I'm like, I'm losing a little bit of excitement and stuff. And you're like, you should be excited as hell. And I'm like, yeah, but I lost a leader yesterday. And you're like, who cares? Law of averages, LOA, and you keep building. And I would never forget that conversation. And I was like, oh, wow. And I just lost a leader, that day before Dallas. And I kind of, like, at that time took it a little personal, but the thing that I didn't do, that I should have done, is what could I have done better?
Yeah.
On my side, to maybe not lose that leader, right? The person was excited about the business, was motivated, was all in. Where did that fall short? And I know where I fall short, right? Because when that person start facing slumps, instead of hopping with them in the field, I kept focusing on the new people. And so the person did, obviously in certificate, it's, did the 0 and another 0, then they quit, didn't show up. So I know what I did wrong, but I will never forget that conversation that we had,
Yeah. What's interesting is one of the things that I realized, whether it was a leader in the field or now as an owner, in most businesses, when you make a mistake, right? Let's say you screw up something, you do something wrong in terms of leadership or management, and you lose a talented person that you wish you didn't lose, because we've all been there. We're like, man, what did I do wrong? I wish this person was still on my team.
Yeah.
In most situations, that's it. That might have been the reason you either got fired, or that's the reason that they're not going to promote you for another 2 years, or it's the reason they demote you, or it's the reason you don't get the raise. And you got to sit on that mistake for who knows how long. And then you're really afraid to take any risks or do anything of responsibility because you're worried, what if I screw up, right? In our business, you make a mistake, you totally screw something up, you say something wrong, you can come in the next day, right? Get coached, learn, lick your wounds, learn your lessons, and get back on the horse. And you can take an interview out that very next day. You can start building a team again the very next week. Anything can be fixed within a very short period of time. You always have the ability to get better. And you said something super important, which is don't just move on from things and completely forget about it. Like, learn from it. Make it something where you look back and be like, did I do everything in my power right that I could have done so I can rest easy at night? But it's so exciting when I see leaders finally click, when they realize that, yeah, that sucked, but we can't focus on that anymore. We got to move forward and learn from it. And now you have the opportunity to fix it, right? All of you guys have the opportunity, regardless of your situations, whether you just lost your team, or you're close to management, or you're just building a team and you didn't do things right the first few people. Guess what? Show up today, good attitude, great, good work ethic, student mentality. And 4 weeks from now, you could have a whole new situation. And I see it happen all the time, which is great to see. Sorry, Alex, you have something to say?
No, and I really like what you said, earlier, like, don't prejudge or don't come up to conclusions, that quick. I see, for example, new leaders taking out interviews, and they take 3 or 4 interviews, and and you give them an interview, it's like, oh, I don't think I'm good at interviewing. I don't think I'm good at this. I'm like, you barely started it. And who cares if you lost some people, just get better at it, right? So it's kind of the same thing. Don't jump into conclusion that quick, because it will screw your self-belief. It's the entire business is mental. It's all mental.
Absolutely. So we got a question here, Alex, I want to get to.
Yeah.
So this is from Cody Tate. How do you effectively lead people that you don't connect with on a personal level? So I know it's important for people to feel engaged and heard. How do you dig deep to build those harder connections if it's someone that you don't have a lot in common with personally?
I mean, if there's somebody that I don't have a lot of common with, I'm not gonna, again, judge that, but I'm gonna, create the relationship. I'm gonna humble myself. So if I see, like, for example, somebody's a little cocky, it's not humble, but it could be good at the business, right? And there are certain things that I don't like about that person, right? I'm not gonna build a relationship at all, right? I'm just gonna humble myself, get to know the person, and maybe through my conversations, through me impacting him, I'm gonna change certain things and making sense, right? Because at the end of the day, I decided to hire that person. That person is on my team. It's my responsibility to change that person. Even though we have so many different things and we don't see eye to eye even sometimes, but I have to humble myself and build a relationship, spend time, and maybe change his view on certain things or her view on certain things to be better. And I think a lot of leaders are scared of that. They're like, what, screw him, he doesn't listen to me, he doesn't respect me. But it's got to be a reason why that person maybe doesn't listen to you, doesn't respect you. So that's not the reason why to not build a relationship with the person. And I know it's hard, right? But you have to humble yourself and build a relationship with everybody on your team that you're leading, because it's your team.
It also seems like sometimes people, they don't realize that you need to have a very diverse team, because if you only can attract only people with your personality, or you can only attract or have people on your team that like the same things you like, you've just shrunken down your funnel to a very small group. And so, my perspective was like, I want to have as big of a crew, as diverse of a crew as possible. And I got to practice that now when I'm in leadership in the field, by being a chameleon to a million different types of people, right? And one of the things we talk about a lot is, you got to do what's important to others, and you got to care about what's important to others, and be curious about what's important to others. So
100%.
if I got a person on my team that's into horse racing, or they're into something that I know nothing about, I'm going to be curious about it. And I think what you mentioned about spending time with your guys outside of work, sometimes people are trying to get their people to do what they want to do, as opposed to doing what your people like to do. So when you plan out a Sunday with your guys, don't say, hey, we're going to go watch football. Who's your favorite team? And they say, I don't really watch football. Oh, you're going to love football. Well, come join us. That's not the strategy. You want to say, hey, what are you up to on a Sunday? And they say, oh, I'm going for a hike. Oh my God, I haven't been hiking in years. Where do you like to hike? I'd love to join. And then really getting into what your people like. And I found that I've discovered a lot about things that I didn't know about. And it was actually cool to do more things and be more diverse as a person. So if you go into your team building situation with that mindset of, I'm going to do what my people like to do, I'm going to get to know them, you'll find you'll have way more people that will be willing to follow you and be influenced by you, because they see that you care. They see that you're putting the effort.
100%. Really good question.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a question here, and I know we covered a lot of stuff. So responsibility, setting the right example. Would you follow you? Doing the small things right. Keep shooting for your goals. Set the pace. Never stop believing in yourself, and follow through and come through for your people. So when you're looking at your office, because you run a huge office right now, you got 150 app crew, pushing to promote out more outside deals. What do you think is the biggest gap between the top leaders right now in your building and the ones who are not doing as good or not building as fast? What do you think the main difference is? Because leadership is all we're talking about at all times. So what is it your top guys are doing in a top office right now that maybe other leaders are not?
I think the number one thing that I see the difference between people that are moving so fast and leaders are moving fast, leaders aren't, is the leaders are moving fast. They hold themselves accountable every single day, without me even holding them accountable, right? So if they go in the field, they don't set the pace, they come back, be like, hey, Alex, can you break my day down? Can you go over ratios with me? Can you see what's up? If they take an interview, that person doesn't show up the next day, they freak out right away. So they're psycho about the situation. Versus other guys, other leaders, they just kind of nonchalant. It's okay, I'll bounce back, right? You hear it's okay a lot. That is the main difference.
So the term "it's okay," you don't look at it like, hey, it's not okay.
There is nothing okay.
Yeah.
That is not reaching goal is never okay. Your daily goals, if daily goals are not reached, there is no end goals, right? So you're not reaching your daily goal. There's something wrong in there, right there. We have to fix it. It's not okay.
So when and I love that. So you guys are listening in. One of the things you got to realize about Alex is he's manic. So if something's not right, he freaks out. He's intense about it. And the word intensity, some people look at the word and they think, oh, I've got to be a crazy person. I've got to yell and scream. No, you just have to act quickly, and you got to be urgent about fixing your problems. And so my other question would be, when you see leaders who don't have that urgency bug, right? They kind of just are just moving slowly and kind of just cautiously. How does that person change that? What should they do first?
I think you should have, if you're a leader and have people like that on your team, you should bring that to the owner and have constant conversations and explain to them the why they need urgency. Right?
Yeah.
And one of the examples that the guys use all the time, and they tell their guys, hey, you see Alex, he's always moving around. Do you think you want his job? Do you think with the pace that you are right now, do you think you're going to be doing his job effectively? Do you think if he was moving slow and taking his time, he would be running this company effectively? And they say, no. Okay, so we need to be a little bit more urgent on certain things.
Yeah.
So I think with conversations and explaining the why, not telling guys, oh man, you're not urgent, you got to be urgent. No, if you're a leader, tell your owner, hey, my guy's not that urgent. I think like he's slow. Tell the owner to have a conversation. Why is it you need to be urgent? What's the importance of being urgent? And that's how guys will become more urgent, right?
Yeah.
Not by just telling them,
We got another question here. So when you guys lose motivation or get bummed out, right? We're all building teams. We hire people, they get excited, and then things don't happen, right? They roll in the field. They don't drop apps.
Yeah.
Things aren't working out. So what do you do when guys lose their excitement to remotivate them or to get them back on track?
I think the one thing that I always remind them of their goals and their step 7 and why they do what they do. And I always relate to them about personal story and telling them that I also lost guys. I also rolled it in the field. I had paychecks, that were really low. But because my step 7 is so strong and my why is so strong, I decided to not give up on myself because if I give up on myself, then I'm letting my people down, my family down. So I'm not, So I think conversations, reminding them of their step 7, reminding them of why they do what we do, and also telling them that it's normal, it's part of the game, But what do we learn from it? It's normal.
Yeah. It seems like being relatable.
Relatable, exactly.
It's super important, especially for when new people come in, because when new people come in, guys, they see you and they see a person that is buttoned up. Maybe you got your suit on, you look like you're, that manager in training. You're in the field with a great attitude. You're dropping apps, you're making money, you're in front of the room running impacts. Sometimes people look at you and they're like, man, I can't do this. And if you come across as this hot shot, oh, I'm the best, I got this stuff down, that's actually a negative, right? You want to come across like, hey, when I started off, I was worse than you. I mean, you were way better than me. I lost my attitude. I was super nervous, and I had those tough situations happen to me. So when Alex comes in and he's got his master's and he's got all this experience, it'd be really easy for him to talk to people and say, why aren't you figuring this out faster? But that would make him a bad leader. That would make people look at him and say, wow, what a dick. Why is he saying this? Why is he talking to me this way? Who does this guy think he is? And it's better to be relatable. It's better to come across humble and to just say, hey, when I was new, here's all the stuff that I went through. And if you can do that with the relationship building, that really helps. And then what Alex has been talking about is being the best example. If you're the best example and you're relatable, people will think they can become you, right? But if you're a great example or you're not relatable, that can be tough in terms of coaching in those tough moments of people losing their attitude. So I love it.
And you hit it on the nail, Van. I mean, the key with working with people and stuff like that, besides being relatable, is being humble. Yep. If you're not humble and you're not understanding people and you act like you're a hotshot, then you're not going to be able to retain people because you're never going to relate to them because you think you're too good.
And how do you handle people that you get frustrated with? Because there's going to be people on your crew that you do all the right things, you spend the time with them, you build the relationship, you invest, you make sacrifices, but they just can't pick it up. They keep doing stuff that frustrates you. They don't set the pace. How do you handle the people that no matter what you do, they don't seem to pick it up?
I mean, I replace them. I'm not here to trying to turn a no to a yes. I'm not. The person is a no is a no. I'm not gonna I'm not in the mercy of anybody. This is my mentality since I was in the field. Like, if guys are not picking up and doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're not getting it for some reasons, habits or whatever it is, I'm quick to move on. You gotta understand. When I was 7 years ago, I was like, I'm in the field knocking. I gotta get out of this ASAP.
Yeah. And how do you look at that? Because a lot of people think, oh, if a guy keeps showing up, I'm going to keep giving him a chance. And, I know that the thing that really hurts leaders the most, it's not about who they hire. It's about who they don't let go, right? Who they don't move on from.
Yeah.
How did you go about that when you first started realizing that you had a person on your team, they kept showing up, but it wasn't the right fit? How did you go about handling that situation in your office?
I think it's all about confidence. Leaders are not letting those people go because they're not confident of hiring another person and retaining other person. Versus other leaders are super confident. Hey, I'll let that person go. No worries. I know I'm going to start again from scratch, but I'll train another person and no worries at all. And they're afraid of doing the same work again. So I think confidence has a big part of it. And, I was confident when I had those people. I'm like, there's so many people that I'm like, I'm not excited to work with you. I think you should do something else. I appreciate your time and stuff, but I don't think this is going to work for you. Right. Yeah. It's not happening. I'm not going to be on the mercy of that person that's slowing me down. I'm just going to move on quick and take another interview and replace that person. If I have a leader on my team that's doing, 3-4 apps a week, not setting the pace and has not even high cancel, just that performance. And I'm not going to, and he's been in the business for 4 months. That person should have been gone. I'm not going to spend time. It's going to drain me. It's going to drain me.
Yep. And it seems like the standards is really where you draw the line, right? What are your standards? If you're building a team, do you have standards for the leaders you have on your crew first and foremost? And if you promote a leader, that's great, but your job's not done. Like, you need performers. You need people who are all around great leaders. And you don't need, again, 20 first generation leaders. You guys just need 5 leaders on your crew to get promoted to where you're promoted to management. You get to run your own show. But it is important when you're going through that process to not lower your standards. right? Not expect less of your people than you do for yourself or that you would perform yourself. And when you do that, and it happens a lot, and that's one of the main problems with people in team building, they lower the standard for what they expect from their people. They start saying, it's okay if that person doesn't hit qualifications 2 or 3 weeks a month. There's no way. And Alex, you never let that happen, right? You never let that happen when you're going to the field, and you can't let your people think that's okay. So in the process of building a team, you do have to go through, like Alex is saying, conversations and people where even though they want to do it, it's not going to be a good fit for them. And if you allow them to stay, you're going to lower the performance of the people who would be good. You're going to have them lose respect for you, right? Because now there's no standard. Now anybody can do this, even if they're not performing, even if they're not actually hitting their goals. And that's something you don't want. So Alex, I'm very thankful you were able to speak with us today. I know we have 10 minutes.
Thanks for the invite, man. I appreciate it. And thanks, Maddie and Elise, for setting this up. This was great.
Is there anything else? Because we got a couple good questions and we covered a lot of good topics. Is there anything else you want to discuss or any last words of advice for the guys?
No, I think you hit it on the nail. I think it's all about standards. And if you're not set the standards right, people, they're going to walk over you and that's it. And you're not going to be that effective leader. It's all about standards, no excuses. That's one of the characteristics of a leader, no excuses mentality. And just, that's it.
Yeah. Well, guys, every Tuesday, now we do these every other week, right? So 2 weeks from today, you guys will hear another owner from some program maybe you're not involved with, and they're going to give you guys insight like Alex did today. Next Tuesday, you're going to get a program-specific leaders call that's going to go over leadership tactics, sales training, things like that. And these calls are good because you guys get a bigger picture perspective on leadership in general and how to look at it. And what Alex talked about today, hopefully you guys took notes. We're coming into the next 8 weeks, which this time of the year is great for us, but you add in the whole unemployment thing that's going away from COVID and what that's going to do for our business. It is go time. No matter where you are in our business, no matter what part of the training program you're in, you should be looking at the next 8 weeks and think, where could I be? How big could I be? And it's calls like this that really help. So Alex, thank you so much for sharing your time today. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone hopping on, and we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Bye, man. Thanks.
Bye.